Antifa declared officially a terrorist organization last month. I didn't know about this until the other day. And when I saw that, some things clicked. For starters, you don't renovate the White House if you're planning on leaving. Like, really think about that. A golden ballroom. For, I think, 6 years now, however long it's been since the first time he ran, I've been warning that they were setting him up to be a sort of fall dictator, right? The puppet figurehead of a totalitarian technocrat state. And here we are, right? So, that's a problem, I guess. But the Antifa thing, the reason it really rang alarm bells is because of the Patriot Act. A lot of you guys are probably too young to even remember that. I mean, I don't know if it's something people still think about. But it is a terrifying piece of legislation, and it basically dismantles civil rights in the United States. You can be arrested without cause, basically, held without trial, no lawyer, no phone call. Basically, you just disappear. And if Antifa, which is not an organization, not an official organization, there's no leader, there's no headquarters, there are no offices. It's not. I can't believe we only have one person. Maybe I should have called this stream something else. We'll talk about it more next week. But yeah. So labeling this sort of amorphous blob of general, it's like a generality that they have declared a terrorist organization. And the real objective of it is that if you are a left-leaning person, they could call you Antifa. Therefore, you are now arrestable under the Patriot Act. And so anyone that sends, say, $5 for gas to their friend who has been labeled Antifa is now supporting terrorism and is arrestable under the Patriot Act, right? I could go on and on. You guys get the picture. This is a way to not just demonize, but to criminalize an entire demographic of people that might represent some sort of opposition. This is real. It is this bad. We really have gotten to this point. They're not kidding. They're doing this deliberately. And it's time to take whatever kind of action we can take. This is not a time to rest on your laurels. We are at a crossroads in human history that represents the greatest potential ever in human history and also the gravest existential threat. We have all of the answers to optimizing human systems and bringing ourselves back into homeostasis with nature and each other. We know how to do this. The only reason it's not happening is that it doesn't serve the purposes of certain people. That's it. And it's a very small group of people. But they have a tremendous amount of power and a tremendous amount of resources. They're also acting from a level of blind animal instinct, fundamentally. Subconscious processes. They are automata. They're not engaged with any kind of higher processes. And physics, luckily, gives us a bit of an advantage due to that. And I'm not going to get too deeply into that in the stream. You guys know I talk about that stuff all the time. A little bit of audio crunchiness. Hold on, let me. Oh yeah, the volume's too high. There we go. That should be better. Yeah, that'll be better. Hopefully not too quiet. Here, let me push this one up a little bit and. Yeah, you guys, this awakening also that I have been promoting all these years on this channel is definitely in full swing. I saw a video last night, a girl, high IQ, advanced pattern recognition, describing the fractal algorithm that underlies everything and all, It sounded just like me. And there's a lot of people that are suddenly talking about the exact same shit all over the place. So that whole, aspect of this, entrainment, entanglement of consciousness. It's definitely happening. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But we need to pull a little harder on the strings of our martyr, and we also need to quit with the denial. It's very difficult to accept something of this magnitude, that we're really in this much trouble, but we really, really are. We really, really are. This is all strategic. They have been conditioning the United States military to be prepared to attack American citizens. They have been conditioning people to get used to people just disappearing from concentration camps. None of this stuff is accidental. They're also testing the waters. They wanted to see if they had 1,200 people or whatever disappear from Alligator Alcatraz, what kind of response it would be, and it was like nothing. People are like, oh well, I mean, I shouldn't say that, because I guess King's Protest Day, I'm not there in the United States. I don't really know what's happening. I could be completely wrong, too, because the algorithm, who knows if it's showing me, incomplete picture. I would expect that, of course. But you guys know what I'm saying. This is something we were all expecting, way back in the early 2000s, but I think a lot of people grew up and forgot about it, and even I was in a considerable amount of denial about it, I think, because, nobody wanted to get to this point. But we're here. Somebody is in control of the United States, and it is not the United States. It's being exploited and drained for everything that it has got, and that includes the people inside of it. And I don't think they're going to stop until there's nothing left, unless something happens, If you guys haven't seen my fractal algorithm videos, you should watch those, because I'm making a very good case for the fact that we very easily could optimize human systems to support life on this planet as it should be, with the right kind of objectives. This dry, sterile, vapid consumer culture that we have is definitely deliberately engineered. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it doesn't need to be that way. Our culture could be colorful and vibrant and alive and engaging and purposeful, and the fact that it's not is an engineered circumstance. At this point, you can ask any AI platform about the suppression of gnosis around the planet historically, and they all agree that it has happened for the purpose of undermining individual sovereignty and suppressing free thought. It's no secret. It really is true that there is a fundamental, or a sort of organic consciousness state that is our birthright that we have been disenfranchised of. And it's not that hard to bring it back, because there are all these influences in our environment that are constantly exerting influence that would bring us into that homeostasis if it wasn't for the fucking dickheads shaking the ant farm. So, I mean, my main purpose for coming on here and talking about this tonight isn't really to go into depth about anything. I am trying to sound a dire reveille, to be or not to be, But really to sound a warning and just make sure you guys know, what you're dealing with up there. And what I'm dealing with too, I mean, confronting it has cost me, and it could get worse, I'm not going to stop. So support the channel, please, for fuck's sake. Shit's stressful sometimes, man. All the time, really, at this point. But remember the formula. All the way down at the most fundamental subquantum level, mirror symmetry, Calabi-Yau manifolds and D-brains, juxtaposing opposites in order to create order with symmetry, but they're reversed, so it's breaking symmetry, which allows for variation, right? So at the most fundamental level, We have this dualistic dance going on. And because the whole process is generated by this reflective mechanism, it's reflective at all levels. You know, you see DNA copying, expanding, you know, the Fibonacci sequence, it's all just this hall of mirrors, like replicating by recursive fractal processes, right? So at the societal level, it's the same thing. There is no getting around having a moment that is pregnant with potential that is not equally balanced with existential threat. That's the formula. But we have to remember is that if you look at all the processes in nature, the general consequence of this interplay of antinomies is life. You know, the creative principle emerges from that victorious time and time and time again. So based on that, we can probably put our boots in the ring and, you know, feel good about it. That ultimately the outcome is generally in favor of the light.